I'm Jason Bridge, and welcome to Thursday night's Black Friday edition of Woodworking Wisdom. So we have...
I'm Colwin, and I'll be doing all the questions. So anything you've got in mind to ask Jason, just put it in the chat, and I'll relay them to him.
Okay, sounds complicated, but all right. Okay, so first thing, I just got to do this. Don't think this is all right, but I just want to have a look at this and just go do this bit for a minute. All right, okay. So that's out the way and done with. I'm going to leave that. That's good. It's my mum's birthday day, and I'm doing this. So I just thought, okay, I'm sorry. Right. So no, we're going to look at some hand plane stuff, a few other things, lots of rider stuff. So rider stuff we built up as a brand name over a few years. I'm one of the drives possibly behind it, ideas and things that we can push, how to develop tools, make them a bit better. This also relates to a question I had about 2 months ago from a guy who emailed me with, I'm just getting into my woodwork. What do I need is basic woodwork tools. What is there? What am I going to want? Okay, so I emailed him back with an answer. The videos we do daytime when we've done this, we're about 2 months ahead of planning of what we're going to do. So taking a bit of time, so I did an email. So perfect time to go over some of that. My first hand plane is in here. Now, I was quite lucky. I started doing woodwork when I was about 13, 14 years old. I had a guy who worked for John Makepeace in Parnham House as a tutor, if you like, when I did my work experience from school. What should I buy? A number 5 plane. Not a 4. No, number 5. So my first number 5 plane is in here, okay? This was bought from Power Tools. I would have been, 14 years old, so 1986. Done quite a lot of work. It saw me through college. But this isn't how it started when I bought it. So originally when I bought it, first thing I changed on this, it had plastic handles. Hated plastic handles because they don't feel right when you grip it. They made my hands sweat, made it slip a bit. Really wasn't comfortable to use, so I put wooden handles back on. So got rid of that. Next thing I had to do when I worked with Tom was level the bottom. So I had to surface plate grind it on plate glass and get it flat and get rid of all the rotary ring marks that were machined into it. It really wasn't good. It took me the best part of a day to do that, to get it flat. The other thing I did was change the blade. So why did I change the blade? The blade that comes in this was like a piece of tin plate, my original blade. So this is 1.9 millimeters thick. Blade I changed it for 2.87, so nearly 3 mil thick. So it gives you an idea of some of the things I've done to that plane to change and upgrade it and make it better. Other thing I wanted to do, especially in recent years, is change the chip breaker on the back. Haven't been able to because the mechanism inside the adjuster isn't quite long enough, so a bit frustrating. But in reality, my Stanley plane that I have there has done me, okay, quite well. It's done quite a bit of work. Just going to put them back out of the way. I'm going to explain why now. I since have been very involved with doing things like the rider planes in here. Everything that we've just looked at, we put into this plane. We made sure it got wooden handles. We have a blade in here that's 3 mil thick. It is 3.12 thick, so over 3 mil. Totally different style of chip breaker on here. And this is about adding more support to that cutting edge. So very different shape, chip breaker on there. A lot flatter than what I've got on the old Stanley one. Not a bent piece of press plate steel. This is actually machined, nice and accurate, designed to support that cutting edge. All right, so those little changes that I made to my Stanley plane are things that I pushed here with a few of the other guys that work here over the years to make sure we can provide the best quality plane at a price. And that's a bad way of phrasing it, but we want to make something that is appealable to most people without spending a fortune. Okay. Colin, you're right.
We're good. We haven't got a huge amount of questions yet. Can I just answer one just straight away? Just from Rex. Looking forward to wood turning items on sale. Not tonight, Rex. We've done that on Tuesday, but look out all weekend for extra Black Friday deals. There will be a few more, so you never know what you want may come up in that one. And don't forget tonight, guys, you have to enter the code RIDE15 to get your deal. So there it is on screen, RIDE15 at the checkout, and that'll get you your discount for all the rider stuff we're using tonight.
All right, so lots of rider stuff we can go through. If you've got questions on it or questions relating to possibly what we've done this week, let us know. All right, so the plane, as I said, everything really I did to my first standing, we've done to this. So hopefully when you get it, you don't have to. Straight out of the box, hopefully it'll work really well. Other thing with this is made of high ductile steel, all right, or iron. I won't say unbreakable because someone will prove me wrong, but the casting is high ductile steel. Traditionally, my standing plane is a grey cast iron. If I drop it, the risk is I will break it. And there are lots that I've seen secondhand where they have a weld line up from the mouth. That shouldn't happen on this. All right. It's also slightly heavier, a bit thicker in the base. Right here, all those little features add up of what we wanted to do. So on number 5, most people say a number 4 is a better thing to start with. I like this. It's a jack plane, jack of all trades. So we've got our blade in here. Now we've got it on this nice piece of elm on here. I'm just going to do some of this because I want to show you how versatile this plane can be. First thing we want to do is change the blade. Now the bit of elm, it looks nice and smooth. I think you can probably see on the camera, it looks okay, not too bad. We'll show you what we did to it in a minute. Now I'm changing a blade. This is in reality a standard blade. Let's just have a quick look on there. I've got a curved front to it. Now, due to the fact this plane is only 2 inches wide, I can use this for a scrub plane. If I went to a 5.5, which is slightly wider, half an inch wider, I'd struggle to do what I'm going to do now. Too big a cut. So it would be hard work from my point of view. Just tighten that back up. Gently lift it up. Check I haven't got my bit of magnetic taping underneath to support it. I'm going to wind the blade back because I know this is slightly longer on the front. Tighten it back up. Tester block is in behind me on there. Just something to see where we are. So I know I've got a bit too much out still. That's good. Now I can use this with a curved blade to create what's known as a scrub plane. I'm going to work across the board. Now let's just have a quick look on the board first because we go back to the main camera, I think, Ben. Let's just have a look on there. This is a piece of elm. This is what we used to use possibly for some of the chair seats. But it's very cupped. I've just slid a pencil underneath that front edge. The top edge that we've got that you're looking at now, nice and flat, no rock. So those of you who've been watching me play with the hand planes in here know that sometimes I have to put in a bit of effort for this. I didn't want to do that tonight. All right. So this is my bit of effort from the other day. This is the shavings off of the top of this board. Now, most of these are cross grain. Some of them are definitely the smaller bits are easier to break up, but they're like a scallop, almost with a spoke shape type thing, and adds on my way, Colin.
Jace, yeah, just a quick one when you're ready. When you're ready.
Okay, go on then.
All right. So just a couple of things. Turn from the tree. If you can email us in that question, we'll answer that one separately if that's okay. And Terry's just asking, what's the difference from the distance from the edge of the blade to the chip breaker?
On this, I've got a little bit more overhanging. When I go back to the straight blade, I would probably try and aim for about 1 millimeter. And we will set that up. I'll try and show you, but we're going to do that. That's one of the things we're going to go back over. So it'd be good to look at for you, okay? On the scrub blade, not so important for what we're going to do. This is about using this as a brutal tool now to level the board quickly with less effort. Now, and it'd be lovely to put your hands up, and I'd love to know how many you're going to do this. If I said to you, there's a bit of elm, it's nicely cut, pick your plane up, off you go. Now, I can vividly remember one guy on the courses doing this who went, haven't you got a machine for this? No. If we had a machine that would do a 20-inch wide board for me, fantastic, I'd love it. But we don't. So, this is allowing me to take off not a whole whip shaving, we're working cross grain, getting quite a coarse cut on this. We're going to end up with lots of little scallops, but it's nice and quick too. So actually, you can adapt this number 5 plane to do more tasks than just a standard hand plane. If we went wider, as I said, I wouldn't have the chance of doing this. It'd be too much cut for me to try and push through. I can change direction, which will help level the board back. Now I'm hoping you're seeing to get little scallops. Now this area, which is just off the camera there, look, okay, bit grey. I've got an idea then. Just going to bring it back just a little bit. So I reckon we get that in. Bit grey there. That's the original bit at the top of the board. So that's the bit I'm in reality maybe chasing. Bit of a knot in there as well. Change direction. I want to work from all sides on this. We're getting somewhere. You might not think so, but we're flattening back out. There was a pattern at the moment that almost looks like maybe an old beam, where they had their long handle adze and they get lots of scallops. Okay, but you're seeing what we're getting as a shaving. Quite a small, narrow shaving, cross grain, quite easy to achieve. Colwyn sat here nice and relaxed. How you doing, mate? All right?
I'm doing all right. Before you get me to play with that, can I just go for another couple of questions?
Go for it.
Well, some comments as much as questions, and we've got lots of people saying how nice that bit of wood is. Picked because of its grain, obviously, so it's just going to give the plane a real test, as it were.
Let's just do while you're there then. Let's just swap this a bit.
Richard's asking, what's the country of manufacture of the Rider planes?
As in the country of?
Yes.
They're made in India. Okay. One of the things we didn't want to do, and it's a company we've dealt with for quite a number of years. India has a good reputation for brass work and steel work. Didn't want to do a Chinese made plane. And that sounds weird. Handles, they do. The blades, we are going to look at doing an English made blade at some point soon as well. But the main body of the plane, everything else is made in India.
Can I add to that as well? So as well, obviously it's all Dwell design. Now, Jason's had a huge amount of playing in the design of these planes. But as the Rider brand, there's a real mixture of countries here. So as well as the planes being made in India, we've got some Czech Republic for the chisels. We've got France. We've got the UK. So the sharpening boards, am I right?
Yeah, so we've got UK, the Czech Republic, France. So a whole range of different things. It's not just one place. We put a lot of effort in the last 10 years to build up a range of products at a really good standard. That's what we've been aiming to try and do. Okay, well, blade.
Sorry, just very quickly. Is the body of the planer, is that steel or is it casted steel?
This is high ductile iron. Okay. So it's almost, I won't say, because I know if I say it's unbreakable, someone will do it for me. But if you drop it, it should absorb that a bit better. Normal cast iron, which my Stanley plane was made in, forget it. If you drop it, I can remember dropping my small block plane at college down 2 flights of concrete stairs in a 60 style, 4-story building and watching this bounce and just thinking it's never going to be in one piece. What these are made from is the same material that Lie-Nielsen would build their planes from. So it's got a bit more robust. The other nice thing with it, it's more resistant to corrosion, so it won't rust as well as a normal grey plane. Okay? All right there? Up to there?
We're good.
Okay, right, yeah. Good. So, blade. We had that question. Chip breaker and blade. So I'm changing the blade now back to, this is the standard blade that came in the plane. I've given it a sharpen. This has a 30-degree angle. I've got 30 on here. We've leveled, made sure that's there. We've given it a sharp edge. I'm going to show you that as well a little bit later. Giving this up. Okay, so I slide it up. I want to be probably about 1 millimetre. Now I'm just finger tightening that screw on the back. Don't need to go too mad. I can slide it up a bit better now and control it instead of having it loose. I have a weird thing which I've done without even thinking for you. When I put it back together, and it's amazing how many people get this wrong. First of all, that's that chip breaker that's machined, not pressed. Drop it on at 90 degrees. Forward as far as I go. I can swing it round. All right. Then I'll bring it up. I've got to go careful because this is nice and sharp. Finger tighten it so we've taken all the slack out, if you like. Then going to tighten the screw up. Now, a few of the guys, this is that little knob we made the other week. Hand plane knob. Great little thing. Got some comments on there. This is what this is for. No. One of the things I was convinced of when I started my woodwork was buy the best tools you can. So if you buy the best tools you can, invest a bit of money in them. And Colwin, I think you can vouch for this. They will earn their money back. We both, with our turning or other things we've done, have bought tools over the years and they pay for themselves. So if you buy a decent hand plane, you look after it, you don't tighten the cap screw with your chip breaker, should last. Right, I'm just setting the blade up, winding it forward. So the adjuster is on here, nice and easy to do. You can see fingertip in there and just try to see which camera we're on in a bit there. So that wheel, bring it forward. Probably a bit far now. I've got my little pine block, and there's something I love to do as a setup thing. Instead of going straight onto the job, and this job's maybe not as important, this bit of elm, we've got to straighten out, we're going to clean it up. If we're going on to something where you don't really want to go taking too much off, this can be good to do. So you're setting it up. I've got no cut now. I've used the lateral lever, which is this one here, just above the handle. I can swing the blade left or right within the plane. If I wanted to close the mouth up, right down in here, there's that silver screw there. I can wind that forward and back. I've got to take the blade out to do it. There's two screws underneath where the blade is. We'll try and show you that a bit later. Right. Nice wooden handles, comfortable to use. Let's just have a quick look and see where we are. No cut. Fantastic. Good. Bring this up. Just taking up the backslash. I'm going to tighten cap screw. Have another go. The only way you're going to find out where things are, gently forward. Don't get impatient. There. One side a little bit. Still there. Bring it back. Next thing that often throws people with this. So I'm leaving there. Left hand. Or right hand. I'm naturally right-handed. You cannot get all your hand in here comfortably. And I haven't got big hands. Finger down the side. That's about actually a bit more control. It's something I do with a handsaw as well. It's a good sign of using a plane. It helps balance it out. Now, nice thing with the number 5, it's got enough weight, and we're still working cross-grain to use that weight, but it's not too heavy to control. So my number 5 is a nice plane to use for this. Now we're going over that wild area on there. I'll pick the board up a little bit in a minute. Still taking, I won't say a heavy cut now. We're taking less than we were doing definitely with the scrub plane setup. We're trying to give you an idea of one plane can do a number of tasks, possibly just by changing the blade and your approach to how you use it. Most of us, like I said when we started this, would be put off. Oh, it's a big bit of wood. I don't know if I can level that with a hand plane. It's not that bad. Other little tips a minute. If we got on here, it's probably behind me. Candle wax, it'll be up there. Slip juice. So a bit of candle wax can be really good underneath here. Easy to do. Helps it glide. Cuts down the friction. That's better. We don't even sell candles. Okay, let's start to go down there then.
So if I go for a few questions, Jace.
Come on, mate. What you got?
So there's just a couple. So any wood turning questions, guys, if you email us in or wait to see us next week. Now, don't forget, next week we're back to our usual time slot of 3 o'clock. So that's next week, but this is the last one for tonight. But there's still lots of deals waiting for over the weekend. So still keep tuned for those. One comment I got here is about the T4. So the I'm assuming a T8, would be good for sharpening the blade. Should I buy one now or wait a few days? Well, what I personally do, just sleep on it and have a look tomorrow. Like I say, just keep an eye out for the rest of the weekend on deals. The rider planes. So a couple of our regulars are in. We've got Woodwork Learner here just saying that the rider blades will also fit some of the Stanley planes as well, because he's got the 4.5 and the 5.5 and the number 5.
So you can interchange them around. You can.
Yeah. So it's right again, not a plain question. So this is from Callum, not a plain question, but if you could get 2 CBM wheels on a slow speed grinder, which grits would you choose?
What do you want to do? Now, logically, I'm going to say finer, so 180 grit, because I would leave one wheel as a normal grinding wheel and use that for my heavy shaping. I would then use the CBM wheel for my sharpening, not shaping the tool. So touching it back up, getting a sharp edge. Colwin?
Yeah, see, I would, for reshaping, 80, and I'll probably go right the way up to 180 for a sharpening, because that will give me the closest thing to, we were just talking about Tormex whetstones, one of the sharpest, longest lasting edges, you see. So I would go fine for that, definitely.
So the 180 grit, the 80 grit will do a rapid shaping, but if you've got a normal white wheel, you could use that for that task. Most people, if you think with your turning tools, you just really want to be touching the edge up, not reshaping them.
Now, here's a question for you. So we have, so this is from Cliff. Why would you buy a Veritas or a Lee Nelson planes? They're 3 or 4 times the cost of the rider, but it's the same number plane.
Same number, slightly different designs. There are certain features on the rider planes, on the Veritas planes that are different to what you're going to get on here. A few unique things that they have done. They also do different blades. Linus and stuff, they actually are pushing, if you like, what is already there. So how do I rephrase that a little bit? They've taken an original design and they have copied it, which is a Stanley design, or going back for the history books. But they have really pushed what they can do in detail of it, the quality and everything else, the handles, all those little things. So again, blades, they do different types of metal to go in those. It's difficult to depends how much you want to spend on them. All right, that's one answer there. But I do know the Linus, yeah, they're a little bit. We don't want that as good as that. It all costs money to make things. So trying to bridge that gap nicely and give something as an affordable plane that works is an important part. And for someone, when I can remember vividly, 14-year-old, having to level a brand new hand plane on a piece of plate glass for 6 hours. Oh my God. I've seen Stanley planes lately where I kind of think if I wound the blade back, I could sand using the sole because it was that coarse. You see, sort of ground out. Our sole on here, look at that, brush finish, nice and clean. That's straight out of the box, this one. So that's an important part, getting those sort of things. I love using these. The guys that have watched the videos when we've done stuff, you'll vouch for what I picked up at the plane most of the times. Gone for our rider ones, because most of you, if you're new to this, you don't want to go and spend a fortune. You haven't got lots of money maybe to go and spend on this. You want something that works, does the job. Great. Yes, over the years, I've changed stuff. I bought other planes over the years. I bought other different things. We all do that sort of thing. But when you're, especially if you're new to it, you want something that's going to work. You're not going to waste your money. Right, okay.
One more. Fuller Blarney, he's just reflecting in an old plane. What recommendation would you have for a spare blade, a new blade for it?
So if you're going to buy a new blade to go in it,
yeah,
we do an English-made rider blade that's just come in. They're quite nice. If you're going to do that, look at the video that I did the other week about actually that blade and changing it and fitting it into here, because you might need to do a few things of fettering around to get it to fit in nicely. Right, there's a few things, little tricks and tips that we did in that video. Okay, so that'd be worth looking at. By going thicker blade, you're going to absorb that vibration better. Also, the metal quality on the thicker blades, especially if will probably be better quality. Tool steel, we said about the Veritas stuff, they've got PMV tool steel in a hand plane blade now. Wow, it's almost getting to tungsten carbide. It holds its edge so much more. Wasn't available 100 years ago, 50 years ago. It wasn't there. It's quite recent things. Okay. A little bit more on this. We aren't going to do too much more on this. We're getting there. Now again, still taking quite a heavy cut because I'm roughing back. I'm working cross grain. Down again. Right, let's see if we can drop the cut back a little bit. What I wanted to do with that cut there was basically take out those scallops, take the high spots off. Now, if any of you tried playing with elm, has that amazing feature of interlocking grain. Now I'm just cutting, that's better. I was cutting a little bit left-hand side. So I'm just really going to check what we're doing there. Coming down. Now we're not getting a continuous cut at the moment. Why? Because we've got little ridges still coming across. I've got a bit of torn grain in here. And I know we're never going to get all this done this evening. We've got other bits to show you that are more important. A bit of torn grain up on there. A quick look now. I'm just going to put the plywood out of the way for a second. Let's take that out there. Put my sole bit on the bottom there. Okay, Ben, let's go. I think main camera for a minute. I don't think the guys have quite understood what we got in this. Look at that for a bit of grain. So we've got this lovely knot coming off here. So even a knot hole the other side for me. So the grain in here, and those of you who play with your hand plane, you know, you got a swirl of grain in here. Quite difficult to clean up nicely. Now, last thing I might do with that, where have we put it? Let's have a look. Got a few other times, but cabinet scraper. Even those we can have as a rider product. Get it nice and sharp. And again, we've used these over the years. We've got a video of how to sharpen a cabinet scraper. I can work either direction with us. Nice and firm, thumbs in behind. We do have some little thumb guards that we also advertise as a rider product. Put in behind here, stop your thumbs getting hot with leather pads. They're good because it's now starting to get warm. But look at this for a shaving cabinet scraper. So the cabinet scrapers, we said the rider ones, they're French. Really good quality, really nice. Love using those. Okay, how are we doing?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Okay. I'm going to do one last bit of wood. And this is about changing the grain. So, plane. Take the blade out. This has got 30 degrees as an angle. I've got a blade in here with 45. The other thing I'm going to show you as we go on, how I can make this repeatable to sharpen. So I set that up. Let me just see the shine there, just in the front. Turn it up. Now we played with a bit of elm, winding grain. What about if you go with something harder? Something a bit denser. Okay. So I'll do a minute. That one there.
Just while you're setting up, I'm just gonna have a look at some of these questions. Richard, there's quite an interesting comment that you made about the Clifton and the Lee Nielsen. And so Richard says, so could I conclude that if you can afford it, buy a Veritas, Clifton or Lee? Shall I answer that one just briefly? As a non cabinet maker, I suppose, and joiner as a wood turner, I take the same sort of lead as I would with wood turning tools. So there'll be a beginner's range, you'll have a high quality range, that sort of thing. I think what we're trying to do with the rider range, well, I know what we're trying to do with the rider range, and all the work Jason and the team are doing, is bringing a tool that's inexpensive to a quality. So it's bringing back, just because you may not necessarily be able to afford something like a Lee Nielsen, a Clifton or a Veritas, why should you put up with ineffective and rubbish tools? That's what we're doing. We're bringing them up to a standard now to get close to. But absolutely, if you can afford a Lee Nielsen, a Clifton or Veritas, go for it. Absolutely. You won't be
Also got
disappointed.
that aspect. I mean,
Definitely
would you want to take a Lil Nielsen one out into a building site? Fit a door with it? You gonna do it?
One other thing is a cabinet scraper a glorified razor blade?
So
Is a cabinet scraper a glorified razor blade?
what was shavings like? I got off it? No.
It's slightly bigger. Isn't
A
it?
cabinet scraper is an art to use. Now, the two guys in here have got Ben and Colwin. We've both done chair courses over the years. One of the most useful tools, and we used to regularly get the comment with, it's one of the most useful tools we've got in the course, a cabinet scraper. Really? But such a great thing to have. Right, so we put a piece of purple heart in the vise. Okay, now purple heart is horrible to plane. Now I put a 45-degree angle blade in because by bringing up the angle, I can add a bit more strength behind the blade cutting edge. So therefore, it will cope with those harder, denser materials. Jumped a little bit. Now, hoping you got the idea that it takes just a little bit more effort. Trying to make sure we're cutting where we are. I'm looking down for the plane. I've been a bit lazy without my pine block. Better. Don't want loads to cut. But this is purple heart. It's not forgiving for a hand plane. We're getting lovely shavings. Don't look so purple now because you're cutting through it. Lovely colour on this board. And I wasn't going to do this. It was it's a good idea to show people how you can adapt one plane to do different tasks just by choice of changing the blade. So you can have number 5, you can use it for a whole range of different tasks. Change the blade, you can change the angle, so you can drop it down a bit. Softwoods you can cope with. Hardwoods, we've gone 45-degree angle. We put the scrub blade in there to do the rapid stock removal and get things flat. So trying to show more as a multi-purpose tool than just one plane. Okay? All right, okay, good. Enough on planes for a minute. Get rid of some of the mess. So, other fundamental tool for woodworkers, Colwin, what do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know. Chisel, let me guess.
Okay, the wood chisel, okay? It sounds so basic, doesn't it? Now, in here, the guys that have been watching will know that I have little cases we can take on and off the wall because we obviously move things about the room. My favourite chisels in here, and I have got some Veritas chisels, some Nielsen chisels. I've got these. Now, they're not as flash, maybe, or the metal quality is not quite as high, but they're a different price range. So I love using these. And when we've done things like they've got a little table in behind here, we did the mortise and tenon joints, we've done a whole range of things with these. They cut beautifully, they hold their edge, they're comfortable to use, they fit in the palm of my hand. So we're going to show you some of those things. So box set of hornbeam handles have wooden case. So I don't want to use these because actually I've got to put these back in the warehouse tomorrow in case they get ordered. So I'm going to put those back up on there, all right? So now, we have those other chisels we've got, and they are exactly the same manufacturer. So a few of you have said, where are things made? These are Czech Republic. So our chisels, we went to the manufacturer and said, right, we want to do a few things maybe a little bit different. So we've got hornbeam handle. Fits comfortably, ball end, definitely on woodworkers' wides if you're going to use this in your workshop. Fits nicely into the palm of your hand. We do different sizes depending on the size of the chisel. So the diameters change. That's about balance in your hand. Not too much weight, not trying to make it too heavy. They have stainless steel ferrule. Unique to us. It doesn't split. Brass ferrules I've seen split over the years. They have a leather strop in underneath where the chisel joins. That's about impact. Trying to absorb a little bit of that stress. We then have a chrome manganese blade, fine grained steel. It holds its edge beautifully. Lovely tapered edge all the way down both sides, right down to, I don't know, about a millimetre and a half. That gets you right into the corners. Things like dovetails, your tenons, your mortises, all those little things where you want to get into, really important. Yes, they have a shine. I have to do a little bit of work occasionally, flatten the back, diamond stone. I'd expect so for a chisel under 20 quid. If you want to pay £120 for a really good chisel, yes, then I definitely expect it to be flat and polished. But for this, I can spend 10, 15 minutes on getting it worn, not a problem. So few people have said, oh, they're not quite flat. Okay, maybe you're expecting too much for what you're trying to buy it for. It's easy to do a bit of work, and these are better than what I ever had when I went to college, as rough ground back ones. Okay, so our chisel, as we said, it's nice. We're going to use. Some of you might say, I'm going out on site. So we do a plastic handle one because they have a soft grip side. I just want to grab a couple of other bits to go with it. And then they also have a metal hit plate on the end. So therefore, you can plate your chisel with it. Really do that? So you hit them with, and you might use the hammer? Oh my God. Well, okay. So that's the whole of it. Actually, still comfortable to hold on that end. By holding on the end using the palm of your hand, you're driving your force forward nicely. You're using your hand better than trying to grip the side. So quite an interesting way of holding. Colwin's got a question.
Yeah, there's a good question here. Any tips for stopping them from rusting, whether that's a plane or the chisels?
Okay. There's swing. Camellia oil, or there is, I've even got, and we do different ones. This is the one we've got at the moment I've got in here. So there's tool wax. We do a hand tool wax in our range as well. So there are things there. They will work. The chisels are an interesting one. And again, I can't remember when we did a feature. These come with a lacquer. All right. So when these are actually presented in the shops, if you go buy them, or if you bought a single one, not in the box set, these have a lacquer on. So they are dipped before they go out the factory. What's that about? That's to stop them corroding in transit or when they're in the shop shelf. And I'm a really bad person for this because I have damp hands. So do that. Okay. The reason I know this, the guy I worked with before I ever started Power Tools, he had a spotless combination machine one before I started. When I started, I put my fingertips on the machine bed and get these little fingerprints appear. So that's not good. But these will have a lacquer on them. You can take the lacquer off. You will find you might need to rub through it a little bit on the back to get the chisel nice and flat. Get rid of that. But if you get rid of it, yes, you're opening up to the air. So things like the camellia oil is really good to protect it. It's what the Japanese use for centuries to protect their tool steel, stop it rusting. So your samurai swords, camellia oil. So it will stop things rusting. All right. Okay.
Yeah, now Callum was asking, if you've got bad grain on your timber, what's the best, a low angle plane or standard?
If you've got a lot of wild grain, and this is really weird, what would you assume? Now, the lower angle, things like block planes, were good for doing end grain work. So we do a low angle shooter, which is 62 and a half. Again, we did a thing on this where I've got 3 or 4 blades that will go into this. So the lower angle blade, I can ground. I've got a 20-degree angle. I might put a 25-degree sharpened edge on one blade. That'll do softwood. Great for that. If you want to use it for all-round use, I would put a 30-degree sharpened on. If I get something with really difficult grain, even on this, I could bring the blade angle up. So I might put a 45-degree bevel on the blade. So actually go buying steeper, you can actually reduce the amount of tear out. But it involves more effort. So a bit like that bit of Purple Heart took a bit more effort to push through because I've changed the blade to a 45 and it's a harder, denser material. So that if you change your bevel angle coming up, yes, it will help control the tear out, but you're going to need more push to do it. So try and take lighter cuts is probably the thing. But I think you can kind of see, you can have low angle, high angle. If you look at the setup on both, and it's on the web, and also I do it the other week with a video, there's very little difference between if I put a 30-degree bevel on a bevel up and a Bailey style plane like the number 5 we've looked at. It's exactly the same approach angle, apart from one's bevel up, one's bevel down. So very little difference. So it takes a little bit, some people favor this. The 5 and the 62 that I've just picked up are, in actual fact, identical size, length and everything pretty much. This is heavier because it's got the frog. More components, a bit more metal in it. Okay.
Yeah, we got a question here from Richard. And Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're talking about the chisels here. Richard wants to know which is the best buy for a wannabe cabinet maker.
Those hornbeam chisels I love. And if you watch me do the table, we've got a little table in behind. Okay. fantastic for holding their edge. All right, so Ben's just brought the picture back up. That's box set up. There's individuals. I've even used, when we did the table, mortise chisel, again, hornbeam handle, stainless steel ring on the top. So you've got something you can go with your mallet with, okay? These are, and I have had comments about these, so I've sharpened these. Again, nice edge. They're not square. No, they're not meant to be. Oh, so what's not square? It's wider at the bottom where the cutting edge is. The top edge is slightly narrower. Front to the back, where the handle is, it's wider at the front of the chisel, narrower at the back. That's about reducing the amount of grab when you're tapping this into that bit of wood. But again, I've used these for table courses and stuff in here, and I'm amazed on how well they hold their edge for what they are. The two guys in here, Colwin will definitely vouch for. I don't spend money unless I have to. Stop laughing, Ben. All right. Okay. So the less I have to spend on a toolkit, even Stuff's out here laughing as well, or doing the questions for you. So I'm getting these work. Okay. So
whilst we're talking chisels, sorry, there's a few questions to come here. So Sol 1821 wants to know. Could you talk about the tang length and the chisels and should it factor into buying decisions, please?
So the tang length, something I don't know about. Now, obviously this will have a tang that will go up in. There are different ways of doing a chisel fit. You can have a socket head which fits in, or this will have a tang that goes up into the handle. I don't know how far up it will go. We don't know. I've never seen, this is something I've never seen here at the moment. And the time we've been doing them, I haven't seen a broken one. So that's an interesting thing. All right. Hornbeam handle, you can split it. Anyone can split anything if they really try. But I've never seen one of these split. I don't tend to clout this with a mallet. I tend to use them as a hand. If I can't push it, it's not going to cut. So definitely love those. If you want something, as we said, more building site, or you're going to clout it with a hammer, you want a bit more force, definitely the plastic handle ones with tang on the ends. You've got something that you can, okay, with a hammer. You may have a rider hammer to go with. I mean, that could be okay. Nice, right?
Just off topic a little bit, just while we're talking, we were talking earlier about CBN. Mark wants to know, he says, evening both, could you guide me on bench grinder sharpeners or the Tormek, Axminster or Tormek? Okay,
if you go bench grinder, you've got the risk that you're going to put more heat into it. You don't want to go heat damaging this as a steel, and that's any chisel. Most chisel, if you start to blue the surface, you've got to go careful with that. Tormek could be good. Ultimate edge could be good. All right, we do a bench grinder stuff. We're going to look at a little bit in a couple of weeks doing a carving thing. Tormek is slower cutting, but you've got no risk, so you can't overheat it. You can sharpen totally on there. So with this one, I'd actually use, we did do a bench grinder video. You've got to be nice and light pressure with this if you're going to grind it back to a 25. But okay, that leads nicely. Go on, Colin. We're going to put the mallet back up.
There's a couple of questions out here about maybe at some point doing a studio tour. We are thinking about doing something behind the scenes, that sort of stuff. So you need to stay tuned for that one, probably in the new year now. I'm not quite sure. A couple turning questions coming in, and I'm resisting answering the turning questions. So as much as I don't want to, ask me next week on Tuesday or when Jason's demonstrating on the lathe, or email me and we'll get those sorted for you. I'm not going to answer them. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
We know my turning tools are better. Come on.
There we are. That's it for the minute. Let you carry on.
Right. Now, so with those aspects of hand plane and chisel, they will only function and work if they are sharp. That's fundamental to that aspect. Keeping things sharp can be a real challenge. I learned to freehand sharpen when I was at college, and it's not easy, especially if you're new to woodwork. What do you want to do with your woodwork? What's the enjoyable bit? Is it cutting a bit of wood or trying to sharpen the tools? Oh, wow. So I got really involved years ago. I have a Waterstone board, very similar to what I've got out in here. So this is the rider sharpening station. All right. So this will do your hand planes and your chisels, and it makes it repeatable. That's the one line that's so important: repeatability and accuracy. So down here, it says planes. Turn it over. Says chisels. All right. So you buy the board, you can buy diamond stone to go in. If you're going to buy them, you need to buy those as separates. Okay. Kit codes just don't work on the computer system for what we're doing tonight. So separates are better. We have leather strop, goes in there. anti-slip feet underneath. So I put it on the bench. It should hopefully stay where I want. I've got a bit of dust on the bench at the moment. Our diamond stone we're going to use, we have 1,000 grit, one end, 400 grit, the other. All right, just going to go with a 400. Now, need to do, I'm going to go glasses just for a minute. Let's do 30 is that. Planes I've got facing me. All right. So the end of the board here says planes 30 degrees on here. Now, just with marker pen makes life easier to show, hopefully, what's happening on the camera. You can see below I've covered half of it just done from there, from front to back. I'm going to drop this into here. I'm going to go 25 for a minute, because if I wanted to keep my primary bevel, which is in behind the cutting edge, accurate, I can use this as a grinder. So our 25 degrees I've set up. I need something as a lubricant. So I've got some water with some Hone Right additive, which is a water stone additive, but it'll work on this, help flush things out. Now, the nice thing with the sharpening station is the fact that, first of all, the water drops into that trough in underneath the diamond stone. It doesn't go all over the surface. It holds everything. Now, we wanted to do the 25. Now, I think you can see just on the very front of there, there's a little black line right on the front cutting edge there. Where my thumb is. That's because we haven't touched the 30 degrees. So what I'm showing you now is the fact that we can do a 25 as a rapid stop grinder to get rid of the stone. All right? Now we're going to sharpen it. So I'm going to turn the stone from 400 grit, 1,000 water. I want to sharpen the blade to 30. Get this back in, line up there. On the board down here says 30 degrees. Right down there. Drop this back down. I'm going to go into there, slide it in. Tighten it back up. You need to tighten this. And people say, does it really matter that you don't tighten it? It will slip. So tighten it with a screwdriver or a hand plane knob. A little bit of water. I think we put a bit on. Most important bit with this, fingertips. Go over there. So wider honing guide. Very basic type of honing guide, but still works fantastic for this. The thing with this board is the cutouts give me a repeatable stop as a measuring point. So I can set things up down to that point. Fingertips. I do 2 fingers either side. You can't do this one-handed. Thumbs on the back. The blade is set on the top section of the honing guide. We'll explain that a little bit more. So this will give me the aspect now. I can go along there. 1,000 grit is finer. So the higher the number, the finer the grade. On the middle of the board, there's an instruction sheet. So it tells you exactly what you're doing. We also need to do the back. That takes the bear off. Gonna go back into there. I've got my pen mark on the side. This side of the board, that yellow, is a leather strop. So this is a polishing compound. The blue thing I'm using. From here, gently bring your hand up. Put a 5 on there. Do the back. That's taking off any burr that's on the back of there that we've generated from. So like a piece of tin foil floating about. This will get you back to a nice, shiny, polished edge. I think we can see that enough on there. All right. That looks good. So quite quick and easy. We send 30 into there, lock it off. Now, the joy with this actually, this is the fiddly bit, is how quick, once you get into the habit of doing this, I could leave it in here to do this too. You can touch something up on that edge. That's simple. And it makes it repeatable. Instead of this aspect of, it's about there. I don't want to be about, I want to be quite accurate, because the more you deviate away from this, you get lots of different bevel shapes. You end up with a horrible curve down the front of your plane. And the belly of it will start to make contact with the work before the cutting edge. So, hand plane, Colwin. All right.
Not a question, but I'm going to ask Jason this one as the most accident-prone person I know. So basically, Stephen was saying, he said he was taught as a pattern maker to strop his chisels on the palm of his hand.
No. I got the line, mate. Okay, don't do it. Go with a leather strap. Even actually for my wood turning skews at home, I actually have a leather strap. So for some of my turning tools, use leather strap.
This is a really good one. Frederick was asking, he's after a new diamond sharpening stone. He's had a look, but there's two types, a monocrystalline and a polycrystalline. Which is better, please, and why?
Ooh, one lasts better than the other and how they're bonded. You can pay different ranges. From memory, this is a mono. Okay. The diamond plates that we do is the stick down ones, which is the secooning ones, are the more expensive ones. They will last a bit longer, they stick down. But it just really depends. Major thing with this, and this is one thing that I've had as complaint over years. Now I use water. I use water because it doesn't smell, it's quite easy. I've got a additive in there that helps reduce the rust. But I've got a couple of water stones in here. They look like they've gone rusty. Until you clean it and you suddenly realize it's not the water stone that's gone rusty, it's the water that's evaporated. You've left the iron particles behind of the hand plane or whatever else because you haven't bothered to clean up after. And those particles rust on the surface of the stone. So it makes it look like the stone's going rusty. No, it's actually the particles off of, okay? So a simple cleanup at the end of it. And the other nice thing maybe with this, which we're going to do in a sec, we're going to do it now, we're talking about it. This is quite easy to clean. So what is the plate? It's a hard thermalic plastic. I wouldn't say it's totally drop proof off the scaffolding, but it's going to bounce quite well. The rubber feet, you struggle to break it. It's not MDF or plywood. It's going to, okay, nice and firm. I think these are 12 mil thick. Diamond stone, we can easily rinse. It has rubber holder. We can turn it over so it fits in there beautifully. Nothing there to corrode, go funny or whatever, right?
Tom,
with the lengths.
Tom was just asking why use water if it's a diamond stone?
You can use a lapping fluid. Okay. I like using water because I tend to have it in a spray bottle and I can get a nice misty spray over it instead of lots of blobs. Purely that reason. I've always used a spray bottle.
But not dry.
I wouldn't use it dry. The whole idea of using a liquid, so a lapping fluid or water, is it floats the particle that I've ground away from the stone to stop it clogging the diamond surface. Same with a water stone or an oil stone, exactly the same principle. And even scary sharpening board. So even on there, in fact, I'm using an abrasive. Stick down the abrasive paper, 2,500 grit, 1,200 grit. I can polish to a higher level. Never rider thing. We can polish that up. But I still use water because I don't want the particles off of my chisel blade or my plane blade clogging the surface. It makes it ineffective. So they basically float away. All right. So you need something to clear that stone as you're working.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. So our chisel, we've just done hand plane blade. Nicely sharpened up. We've already, okay, we'll put it back in. I'm not going to shake the hairs. On the board here, chisels, descend. So we can do chisel down in here. We have 25, 30, exactly the same as we did before. On our honing guide, though, we have upper platform is here. Lower platform, further down. Lower one is for your chisels. It's almost like a little dovetail shape. See how that fits in there beautifully? Look at that. Bring it over a bit. So pinches down. I want 30 degrees for my chisels in here. Tighten them up. Pin them in. Bit of spray. Bang forwards. Simple as that. Makes it so repeatable, quick and easy to sharpen. Now we said about the hand plane blade we did the purple heart with. I said a 45-degree angle. Finish the chisel. Just going to draw that down. We can do the back. The other nice thing we're using the leather strap, it starts to polish the tip of the chisel. So you get more of a shine, you're getting rid of all those little grinding lines as well. So there. So back to our plain side, 25, 30, 45-degree angle. So we've got something as a hard edge, if you like. So you want to do that steeper angle. You can go up to a 45, make it repeatable. Quick and easy using the same setup. Works really well just with that honing guide. Now on chisel, just move a few things. What have we got? Bit of oak, bit of pine. Let's bring those into there. We can. This is the bit of oak. End grain. Across. Bit pine. Try to go off. Got a little knot in behind there, so let's be careful. Don't want to break the back fibres off. What we're trying to give you is the aspect. I can go from one to the other, something nice and sharp, pair those off. It's not very pretty. I'm a bit cat-candid where I'm on the but actually, I don't know if you can see the polished surface. Look at the colour change between nothing on there. So we're getting quite a polished surface being left behind by what we've just cut with those chisels, because they're nice and sharp, make it repeatable. So that's a mixture, if you like, of a couple of things. First of all, the quality of the tool still and getting them nice and sharp. So it's so fundamental. The sharpening station, fantastic for that. If you, I'd love it. How many of you have problems with your hand sharpening? I couldn't go back to Colwin. I love the fact that I was going to let him do this as the demo, but I kind of know we better not. That's just okay. So the hand tool sharpening, really tricky to do if you do it freehand. If you can make it repeatable so you can set yourself up, you go back to the bit you enjoy, cutting the bit of wood, not messing around going, oh, why is it not sharp? Why is it not cutting? So make it repeatable. That's almost any chisel. We can go smaller, we can go larger. From memory, this will go, ooh, I think it goes up to 2-inch. That's a chisel, isn't it? Okay. Go bigger than that. That's 45. So we can go up to a 50mm chisel in that. That's quite a big chisel. Other sensible things, when you've finished all this, you get your dusting brush out, clean up. All right. So hopefully. So I'll ride a dusting brush, but have that back so I know about that. I'm going to put my chisels back up on the wall in that box. Hornbeam chisels, I love for that handle. If you're looking at doing your cabinet making stuff, or you want something that's going to, usual, you're not going to connect too much with hammer. Great. Get the palm of your hand. They work nice. They feel balanced. They're not too heavy, not too much weight one side. A bench. Great to pick up. Only thing I've done with these occasionally, clean the handles off, give it another coat of oil. If you have a varnish on this and you hit it with anything, you split the varnish, the moisture gets in underneath off your hands, it will start to lift. That's why we went with an oil finish. The more coats you put on, the more you're going to protect it. Really good for that idea. But as chisels go, lovely. Great chisels to work with. Colwin, what have you got? Anything else?
That's it for questions.
Is it?
That's it for questions.
Okay.
I'll just add, just very briefly, don't forget, tonight's been about rider, guys and girls. So if you want to purchase any of the rider equipment, then you use the discount code RIDE15. Tonight is our last live stream. We're back to our regular time of 3 o'clock next week. Don't forget
we're not doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, okay.
But if you've missed out, if you thought that there's something that's caught your eye, but you missed out, you didn't quite get there, keep looking over the weekend and tomorrow. There's going to be more Black Friday deals. You never know, you might pick a deal up on the piece of kit that you want to purchase. So keep looking.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your time. We've enjoyed seeing you this week. So next week, back to 3 o'clock.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.